So welcome back, guys, to another chapter of One Piece. Now, last chapter, we have saw a little bit of backstory. Well, we went into a backstory. Hirogen was harping on Loki about, oh, well, tell us what really happened to our father, since you're inclined to throw out bits and pieces of what was going on. So, and Loki's like, well, I guess if you trying to let me or trying to force me to relive that terrible Alpha Day, which that was a chapter, by the way. And Loki's like, fine, that Alpha Day, I guess I have to relive it. And then that's when the backstory was going to happen too. And the backstory was about their father, King Harold, which in last chapter, it even said back then, I think it was said 109 years ago back then, or 115, I don't know, but it's in the hundreds. Back then, before Rocks or before Roger became even a big threat, big names out in the waters or in the seas, you had the giant warrior pirates that's stomping around and causing chaos because they were the bigger threat. You remember that? Remember? Because even one of the giants says, oh, back then, or Ripley even said that, say, back then, we were more of a rambunctious and rule the seas kind of people, warriors basically. So that was part of it. But now we're about to get into King Harold's backstory. Well, what Loki's backstory is. So I'll just drop in some stuff here that we should know about. So here we are at One Piece chapter 1153, titled The Birth of Loki. Let's go ahead and get in this chapter, because this chapter, remember, key details line up to the present of the storyline, that there was brief backstories on Hirogen, Loki, and King Harold. So, and Dorian Bragi, of course, but we get to them when I have another video. So, descriptions. Dorian Bragi shared a wild childhood with Harold, the Prince of Elbaf. So, Dorian Bragi knew King Harold. Remember that too, because that is important too. Born into the bloodline of the ancient giants, the prince possessed a colossal body, not the Cursed Prince. Don't get that mixed up too. Colossal body, monstrous strength, and high status. Remember, King Harold, or Prince Harold, the Prince of Elbaf, has horns. So, of course, he has ancient giant blood in him. This will be important down the line, so keep a line of sight. He grew into an arrogant and unruly rogue that no one could rein in, which makes sense because back then, the giant warrior pirates, or the giants of Elbaf, were back then rambunctious and power is everything. Boom, strength. So now comes back to King Harold, grown into a status figure basically. So he's not big, or he's not a child anymore. So here we are. And he says this: what a bore, everyone outside Elbaf is practically weak and puny. Which makes sense. Like I said before, they're strong. They were rambunctious back in the day. And his soldiers or his crewmates, well, that makes sense. Come on now. We agree with you on this one. Now it cuts back to Island, the kingdom of Bunt's New World, which, what is Bunt supposed to be representative of? I don't know. Now, a circus is going on, right? A road show that's been going on, and people are seeing this. The announcer says, come one, come all, standing 10 meters tall. Each of her steps is an earthquake. Her roar is thunder itself. She's one of the world's elusive giants, hailing all the way from Elbaf. Take gander at Ida. So, Ida or Ida. I was going to say Ida. Or Ida, because reminds me of My Hero Academia character, because the one with the glasses. I mean, here you go. Oh, right there. So you see this giant warrior, but female giant encapsulated in a cage, basically, scaring the guests away, basically, or bystanders, because she's thunderous. Her voice is thunderous, and she's scaring everybody away, basically. So one of the audience or one of the people that's running is get away from the cage is dangerous. Now, guess who ends up seeing this with his binoculars on a ship in the sea? King Haro ends up seeing one of his kinds, or one of his kind, locked up in a cage, and he's mad and pissed. Understandably, right? He says, "This takes balls to turn one of us giants into a roadside attraction," which is, check out this twist and turn though. Though they were fools to mock Elbaf, we showed them. Now, coming back to after certain events happen, so what really happened, because they skipped over what actually happened. So King Haro basically went over to that island, the kingdom of Bunt, and basically rescued Ida. Technically rescued. Don't know if she wanted it, but we're about to find out. But he went over there, got Ida, and afterwards caused a scene to tore up the place to get her out there. So they were basically in and out. So there you go. Now Ida ended up saying, "Who are you?" And King Haro's like, "Well, no need to thank me because I'm the king of Elbaf. So basically, I couldn't sit back and watch you be slighted while they slighted my homeland, basically, and you especially." So afterwards, Ida slaps King Haro across the face, and everybody on the ship was like, "King Haro, your majesty, what?" Basically, and King Haro's like, well, basically confusing in this place. What the hell did I do? Did I do something wrong? And Ada's turn the ship around. You need to apologize, and a lot of people got hurt, basically. And Haro's like, "Are you crazy? You want to go back to that puny dog kingdom?" After he said that, he got a whack, not a slap this time, but a punch in the head, and a few knots comes out of a few bumps, giant bumps come out of his head, and you just see King Haro lying on the ground too. So now Ida says, "You want me to rough you up?" They took me, and she gives an explanation too, an explanation why she was in that cage, basically. So here we are. "They took me in and gave me work after finding me adrift at the brink of death. This is important. Thanks to their kindness, I was able to earn enough to eat and recover from my injuries." So she picks King Haro up by the shirt, or another lookalike, grab him on his shoulders. "Little dolls, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You just happen to be born big. Your strength is a quirk of fate." Makes sense. "Don't kid yourself into thinking you're better than the humans. You're arrogant disgrace. This kind of crap is why all of other giants are always lumped in with you Elbaf savages." So this makes sense though, because you have one side that thinks being born big and having that amount of strength is good, while the other side thinks like not having grow up with strength and using that to do something else besides raiding and basically want peace. So you got two sides of giants here. One's savages, ones that are peaceful. So that's a big divide. And once they reach back to the kingdom, you just see basically King Haro, after that verbal action he got from Ida, just sitting there just like deep in thought after that deep thinking of what's trying to process what she said. And he brings up this: "I was just born big." So you just have King Haro just reflecting and is in a deep thought and looking at Ida, basically. So that, pay attention, because this does shifts his behavior, his whole outlook on everything, which is kind of interesting though. That's character development right there, if you ask me. So you had the king telling the soldiers basically, "Hey, go help them rebuild." And they all was like, "Well, fine, I guess you're right." Now thought bubble comes up. "Their construction techniques are completely different. We'll teach you some stuff for when you get back to Elbaf, basically. Your use of spices is something too. I've never eaten anything with this much flavor before," basically. So King Harold is basically experiencing all of this, including his men. It's like interesting. And then you see Ida holding out her hand towards King Harold and saying, "And the quality of your fabrics, they're so sophisticated, humans sure are good with their hands." And you just see Ida with King Harold bowing his head to the kingdom of Bunts, basically. So basically apologize. Ida's vouching. He did this and he's sorry, basically. And basically, it continues. Look at it like this, Harold. The destruction of anything in this world is a waste. Now, Ida ends up saying, "I was born on Samawana Island in the South Blue. One thing led to another, and I ended up on these seas, basically." So, looks like we have another island, boys and girls. So, Samanawana Island in the South Blue. Wonder what kind of island that is. Tekken 101, you might have to get on that one. If you can piece together what kind of island that is, 'cause I'm curious. So, it continues. You went over the bloody soaked serpent. King Harold says, "Are you talking about that red line?" Well, it did, but I can't go back now, basically. And you just see a bunch of basically her and King Harold traveling around the place. And people are starting to notice the change in King Harold. He's not this uptight, arrogant, selfish, and other things that said about him down the line. He's none of that. Not now. Which is kind of strange. So even his followers are starting to notice King Harold's kind of changed. That's kind of awkward. And got those others like wondering what this means. And pay attention to these two. These become important. Now, Elbeth, 105 years ago, and you just see our giant says, "Up until now, we committed countless sins, and it's time we atone for them." And then one of the soldiers, "What's wrong with you, King Harold?" Or something like that. And Harold says, "As king, I intend to frequently travel overseas. I hope to extend a hand of reconciliation to our neighbors and learn from their cultures, basically. And our land can become more prosperous if we learn from the world." So basically in the present, you saw what in present day One Piece, basically, that what King Harold did was bring back knowledge from where he was traveling at and bring it back to Elbaf for them to upgrade in the world, basically. Books, library, pencils, I won't say pencils, but basically navigations, upgraded boats, everything. Being upgraded in society. So it went from, I can't think of an example, but you know what I mean by that. And what they showed in the current present time of the world, basically. You got everybody is just like, "Oh, well, this is good." Continuing on, we exchange diplomats with other nations. We could build a deeper culture understanding, as King Harold said. And Ida ends up saying, "I see, so it's like a fancy hostage deal." And one said, "Not at all. People need to forge connections. Otherwise, international cooperation is impossible," basically. Then cuts back to another, unfortunately, 81 years ago in Elbaf, Eastern Fishing Village. Hope y'all guys are ready. It's my first time reading this, so here we go. In this timeline, or in this 81 years ago in Elbaf, this is when King Harold and Ida have a baby. We get the first baby. You finally had the baby, Ida and Harold. Congratulations. Thank you, Ida and I. And then you hear a bunch of conversation with the other giants. "Unfortunately, we can't recognize your marriage. Only the pure blood clan be permitted within the royal family." Remember what Loki said to Harujin? And Harujin hearing all those rumors are in hush throughout his followers. They were like, he got dirty blood in him, dirty mud blood or something like that. And even Loki said too, remember that. It was also part of the backstory. I forgot what chapter it was, but this is interesting. And this is Harujin. This is the first woman or he's the first child. So he's the older brother. This is Arujin. And based on this picture, we know he doesn't have royal blood in him. Because, for one thing, he don't got the horns. Which that's bad. Because he don't got ancient blood in him. Just saying. Now, Haru says, damn it, forgive me, Ida. She says, all these issues boil down to culture. Our feelings alone won't change anything. Oh, wait till that changes, right? You're always welcome in our viz, Ida. And she basically got the whole support of different other giants too that's there. So this is basically two factions. There you go. Now, she ends up saying, isn't that great, Harujin? At least you can stay near your papa. Oh boy, here we go with this one, cause oh man, this is wild. This is gonna be a wild chapter. And you're gonna see how I said this is gonna get wild after this chapter. So, we meet the second wife of King Harold. Basically, he has two wives. One is him, one that doesn't have ancient blood, and one that does. So here, and other one, basically one of the councils that says in the meetings, that being the meetings with King Harold, basically one of his advisors says, Harold, meet your future bride, Lady Istrid. Carries the noble blood of the ancient giants. Pay attention, because her ass don't have horns either, which that's gonna bring in a big factor, right? She is a woman truly fit to become queen. And she says this: I was born in Alcohol Village to the north. I am the student of the earth, wind, arts, wherever the hell that means. And there's a caption too. Description of her. Elbath, Alcohol Village, daughter from a prominent background, Istrid. And she says this too: I am fated to love you for the rest of my life. Right. Forget about that Eastern woman, and her bastard child, basically. So there you go. She said the word and I completed it. That's basically what she's trying to say. And Hora's like, oh no. And she's already starting to demand people, already commanding the servants too. So, oh boy. Basically starting commanding every servant left from right. So she says the energies here are aligned to the east. This won't do at all. The king's spirit is leaking out. Quick, shut the windows. And King Harlow's like, what's going on? And she continues, and that mirror is positioned in a lethal 5-star configuration. Dispose of it. That's basically what it went down. She just walked in, started demanding everything. Just like demanding servants to do this and that, just basically bossing around, ordering them to do this. But remember, this is day one once she got in there. Come on now. As soon as they introduced her, day one, she already started ordering people around. So also she brought in a horse, basically. So she says this: me, Ashura, the horse of good fortune, is a fine steed worthy of you, your majesty. Consider a gift from my family, basically. It's sure to bring you good fortune. One of the soldiers off to the left is like, wow, damn, that's huge. They even have 8 legs, basically. And I have to look over this again, too. It's like 8 legs. Now, this horse is good fortune. That count, well, I will say at the end of this chapter, but come on now. Bullshit logic, right? And she says this: guards, take all the, she ends up commanding the guards too in A1 also. Guards, take all of the jewels and go to my room. And you just see everybody's shocked. What was that? What are you going to do with all the golden jewels? But they don't question it. Just follow what the queen said. Second concubine, wife of the king. And she said the king's virginity is, or should be, focused on the energies of the earth, or the king's vicinity should be focused on the energies of earth and wind. I read that wrong, so I'm sorry about that. And also inform the servants that from today onward, the king and I will take all our meals on silver platters. One of the guards like, well, shit, isn't that just indulgence? Oh, such a stuck-up bitch, basically. So that's what happened. Day one, everybody. This is day one when she got in, or as soon as she was introduced, she started ordering people around. That's crazy. I'm already fired up by this chapter, but come on now. I got a lot to say about this chapter. Now, 70-ish years ago, the event is about to transpire, guys. In this age, the rough seas still made travel between islands difficult. And you just see Harujin basically he discovered a contraption basically. It reads, Elbap's advanced navigation techniques intrigued other countries basically. So every move is called the Pole Star, which is Captain said with kanji that says North Star. So keep that in mind. And you just got King Harald discuss or telling his stories about what he's been doing while he was traveling and all that basically to the other giants. So it continues down to the current story, but here we are. 63 years ago, Alice Castle Elbap while Harald was overseas. And this is the part, this is gonna be tricky and trippy. Watch this. Congratulations, my queen. It's a healthy baby boy. And you just hear, his name is Loki. I spoke with the king about it, basically. What was that bitch's name, bro? Istrid, that's what Istrid said. This is Istrid's child. This is the second wife that has ancient blood, by the way. Ancient giant warrior pirate blood. Or giant, not warrior pirates, but giant warrior, basically. Race in her blood. Now she just lays there in the bed. Let me get a good look at my son's face. And then when she took a look, she was horrified. And you just see this demonic looking baby with small baby horns. With black eyes, I'm pretty sure. Not the white in your eyes, but it's black. And you just got basically demonic eyes, basically. Come on now. She said, and she jumps out the bed because the baby and she said, it's horrid. It's freaking me out. What is that? This thing can't possibly be mine. And one of the servants like, Your Highness, please calm down. Mind you, she's also ancient blood giant. So that is contradicting what she was expecting. The king has horns. Check this out. The king has horns. So wouldn't it make sense that you also have ancient blood in you, that when you don't have horns, but the king does? What? But and she says this too. They tell the king it was a stillbirth. Don't tell nothing. She's basically just telling him, don't tell him nothing. Tell him it was stillbirth. Doesn't exist, and it was dead. And he says this, it's cursed, just look at it, it's a monster basically. And the caption leaves, and the narrator comes on and says this: when the Prince of Elbap stretched his arms into the air, no one was there to take those small hands into theirs. And you just see baby Loki crying, shedding a tear. And you know what the hell she did? She basically grabbed Loki and chucked his ass into the realm of dead. That she tasted cake of not wanting she tasted cake of doing this though. Lazy and Jansel, Mother of the Year. And this, matter of fact, this is probably end up being a video too down after I post this chapter, because this is wild. But the servant tried to stop her, and she said, that's the prince. And basically she just found Raymondson, she just chucked it down. And then once she did that, she went back to her room, packed up all the gold and the jewels. Yeah, the gold and the jewels, packed them up. And one of the guards said, where are you going, Your Highness? And you know what she says? I'm returning to my village. I never want to give birth again. The girl is coming from the realm of dead. And she looks at him like a scary pissed off face. Said, the realm of the dead, what about it? And she's basically hiding too in the bed. And the cover is frightening of this bait of Loki, basically. Dispose of the child. It's becoming clear this was foretold long before it came into the world. It is said that King Harald will someday be slain by his own son. And even the guard's like, well, you quit talking with this nonsense, basically. Now, this is happening. It says, meanwhile, Haru struck against the walls of diplomacy. So, in contrast, he was negotiating with the world government, basically. How well that went? Not good. And you just get another one with Ida and Harujin basically grown together. And Ida says, hey, he's your little brother. Don't you want to see the little guy? And Harujin's like, if he's not your kid, man, then there's no way I can call him my little brother, basically. And all of that. So infection. Narrator comes on. From then on, every misfortune that struck Elbaf was chalked up to be Loki's curse. The cursed prince is born. Soon after, Queen Ishtar collapsed due to the ill health. Break next week. Are you sure? Because final thoughts on this chapter. So, are you sure that the reason you fell ill health because you were irresponsible? You're getting what you get. You're getting what you came, or how would they say this? You're getting what you asked for, because for one thing, you jumped out the bed because you wanted to see your child. Oh goodness, bro. It's crazy that she just chucked Loki off. If she just grabbed his hand, showed affection, Loki wouldn't turn out like this. Remember, he wouldn't turn out like this. Never. But that's probably the reason why he was wearing that bandage over his eyes, because this right here, because of this chapter. His mother looked at him, said, ew, chucked him down to the realm of dead, and Loki, as a baby, was climbing back up the realm to the surface, basically. Oh, man, it's kind of interesting because I want to see how King Haru would react to this little dilemma, because you have a second wife. How did you not see that King Haru has horns? So you should expect that Loki will have horns too. And especially when you have ancient blood in you too. Both of you have ancient blood in you. Not Ida. Ida doesn't have ancient blood in her. Remember that. So it's kind of interesting she said that and this happens to her. You're gross. But also you got a little description of TL notes basically that people put down. So Summerwana Island can literally mean not chilly. We believe this is just a pun on Hokkaido has a few place names that end in nine. So maybe it's a joke contrasting to Hokkaido with the tropical nature of the South Seas, South Blue, basically. So that wouldn't be me though with Loki. It's considering what Loki went through. I gotta say, admit this too. I'm wishing her downfall. I want to see how she actually died. I did too, because apparently Ida's not in that. Something happened to both their moms. So I also wonder what why the world government shut down, denied King Haru basically for the diplomacy basically. So that's also interesting, because that's showing in the backstory of Loki and Droll, but walked in with the king getting pierced by different spears with his soldiers basically. So that's quite interesting. But if you like this chapter, if you're new here, subscribe, share this video. Let's get this up to 10 likes. If you're new here and if you like this video, subscribe and smash that like button and comment down below if you think that Ishtar is the worst mom so far in the One Piece manga. Because I'm pretty sure she is. Or in the anime or the manga series. Because come on now. She chucked Loki to the realm of the dead. I would not do that to my own son. So that's kind of cracked, my G. So thanks again and see you next adventure. Laters.